guys, welcome back to Magic TV. My name's Craig. It's 12 o'clock on a Sunday. It's time for a Q&A. Now, this is where I take all the questions that you've asked over the course of the week and I try to answer them to the best of my ability. First of all, thank you so much for the questions. I really appreciate it. Now, guys, one thing that you need to be aware of is you need to get your questions in fairly quickly. I normally film a Q&A on like a Tuesday or a Wednesday, so the questions have to be in on Tuesday or a Wednesday. This week, I'm filming it on a Monday morning, literally 24 hours after the Q&A went live. And the reason is, first thing tomorrow morning, very early, like ridiculously early, I'm flying to Penguin Magic. So I need to get this out of the way before I go. So I'm probably going to miss a lot of people's questions this week. I apologise. If I do, just make sure that you drop them down below and I'll get to them the following week. Also, I've said this before, I'll say it again, I don't actually script the answers to these questions. You're getting my raw, unfiltered opinions. So, yeah, I mean, take that for what it's worth. If a question is kind of something that I think could make a meatier video, I will do that down the line. Anyway, without further ado, thank you so much for continuing to watch the content that I put out there. I really appreciate it. It means the world to me. And without further ado, let's get into this week's Q&A. Okay, so the first question is from Curtis Wines, and Curtis says, "Hey Craig, I have a family event coming up and I'm doing a set for it. I'll be doing the set 2 or 3 times to different audiences, 25 minutes each, probably 10 to 20 people at a time." Okay, very good. A friend of mine is going to take pics and videos, might just be on a phone, so I can start having promotional material. What should I request my friend to focus on for pics or video? Thanks as always. Right, okay, so that's a really great question, and it's good that you're thinking through promotional material. The first thing that I'd say is it's not a problem filming something on your phone. I film a ton of content out in the real world on my phone, and regularly when I'm doing a gig, I'll set my phone up on a tripod and I'll just film the whole show. So it's not a problem. The phones these days have amazing quality, so please don't worry about that. Normally I would suggest focus on video. And the reason that I would suggest focus on video is because you can screen capture any photos off a video. So if you video the whole show from beginning to end, if there's a moment where somebody's going, "Oh my God," or something like that, and you think, "Oh, that would make a great photo," you can very easily take that as a photo, and it won't be as high a quality as an actual photo, but it'd still be pretty good for a website. It'd be fine. Maybe not so much for a brochure, but for a website, it would be absolutely fine. Now, what you're saying is you're doing the set 2 or 3 times to different audiences. So what I would suggest maybe is definitely the first and the second show getting video. So definitely the first and the second show getting video, 100%. You want to get as much video as possible. It's totally up to you. If on the third show you want to have them get photos from different angles, that might be a cool thing to do as well, but only if you think you've got enough video. Review the video footage between each set, have a look at it and see if there's any moments, and you'll know from performing the video, you'll know, performing the show, sorry, you'll know if it's gone well or if it's not gone that well or if it could have gone better. You'll know if you've got the right type of material. I still would say go for video each time, because then you've got different videos of you performing to different people. In fact, I don't know if this is possible, it might not be, but if I were you and I could, I'd change the location of the show each time. You say it's for a family event, even if it's in the same room but it's against a different wall, because what that will do is it'll make it look like different footage. Because one of the things that I see when people put show reels together, which is ultimately one of the things you're going to be wanting to do with this, is I see somebody will go out at a gig and they'll get footage for a show reel, and that show reel will be put together and it's made up of all of one footage, and you can tell that everything's been taken from that particular event. And I think the best show reels are when you've got different clips from different events, and you can see that you're just working a lot. So if it's a family event and you're in control of this stuff, I would try to do 2 things. First of all, I'd try and change the location, as I say, ever so slightly, even if it's in the same room, but it's against a different background, or you throw a backdrop up, or you spin everything around or whatever, and you take a different outfit every time. So maybe, you know, a different shirt and tie if you wear a suit, or a different t-shirt and jeans if you go more casual. Whatever your style is, maybe change up the outfit outfit that you're wearing, because that way you can kind of make it look you're performing for different audiences each time. And on that subject, what I would also try to do is maybe for the first 15 minutes before people come into wherever you're doing this 20-minute show, maybe do a little bit of strolling magic. And get a couple of videos of you standing up with a group around you and you're doing a different routine to what you're doing in the show, but stand up, because that way you're going to get footage that looks like it's not you in front of an audience, but it's you in sort of a walk around, mix and mingle situation. This is a great opportunity, so use it as much as you can to get as much varied footage as you can. Okay, so the next question is from Thomas Maloney, magician. Thomas is an incredible magician. I'll be interviewing him soon for Magic TV, and if you haven't checked out Genuine Magic, he makes some incredible leather products that I'm currently playing around with. Anyway, Thomas says, hi Craig, after seeing Ryland at the House of Secrets, my daughter Madison was inspired to solve a Rubik's Cube. She's put the time in and now she can do it. Get in, Madison. Now she wants to start learning cube magic. What effect would you or Ryland recommend to her to learn as her first trick? Well, I wouldn't go down the route of any gimmicks, right? I wouldn't go down the route of having any sort of gimmicks just yet. Has she got much experience doing other magic tricks? Or is it the cube stuff that she really wants to focus on because Ryland inspired her? I'm not too sure. If you're wanting to focus on cube stuff, I would get her Cube 3. And I would teach her the Cube 3 algorithm. People are going to say, well, Takami's Asui is a better, was the originator of the 2-1-1 mix, which I can totally get where people are coming from. But Stephen is actually a really good teacher. So the Cube 3 project is a great project to start with, and it comes with a really nice cube as well. And you'll learn the mix that you need to do a lot of cube magic once you've learned that one algorithm. And she shouldn't have a problem learning that algorithm because, if she's learned to solve a cube, she's learned probably at this point about 8 or 9 algorithms. So it's just one more to learn. But she'll learn how to do it. She'll be able to do a bag solve and a shake solve and behind the back solve. There's a bunch of stuff she'll be able to learn from doing that one algorithm. Now, the other option, if you don't want to go to Cube 3, is have a look at the Refractor project by Kev G and Colin Klaus. Now, a lot of that stuff would probably go over her head, but you can get Volume 1 on its own, and Volume 1 is great. You learn the 4-4-6 move, or the 4-4-6 mix, which is a really versatile mix that allows you to do a whole bunch of stuff. So you might want to look into that as well. So either Cube 3 or Volume 1 of the Refractor project, both of those are really good shouts. On a side note, by the way, Kev G and Colin Klaus, and I'll be talking about this on the channel at some point, but Kev G and Colin Klaus have just put up a free YouTube video, which is on their YouTube channel, which is Rubik's Cube Magicians. And it's a video on how to solve the Rubik's Cube. But Colin has put his own, he's created his own beginner method for solving a Rubik's Cube, designed specifically for magicians. And he teaches moves in there to solve the Rubik's Cube that cube magicians would need to learn if they want to become cube magicians. So it's a really interesting video. I've been looking at it, and a lot of time and effort and thought has gone into it. So if you want to look at a really cool resource, go and check that out. It's Rubik's Cube Magicians, and go and look at the latest video they put up. It's really good. But in terms of where Madison should go next, I'd say either the Refractor Project Volume 1 or Cube 3. Okay, so the next question is from Ryan Mabe, and Ryan says, when I was first getting into magic, terms like commercial and visible confused me quite a bit. I think I have it down now, but there's still times when I don't know what somebody means by one or the other. Could you give a solid definition of those terms or any others you think might be useful? Thanks for everything. Well, I mean, it's subjective, isn't it? Because different people might interpret those words in different ways. But for me, if something's commercial, it means it's designed to work in the real world. A working magician, a working pro, would be able to do it without any problems at all. Because, and I've talked about this before on the channel, if you're a hobbyist magician, you have you're in an amazing position where you can do any type of magic, but because you're not having to actually change your magic in order to fit the environment in which you're performing. When you become a professional magician and your income is tied into you performing, you suddenly start making sacrifices when it comes to the type of material that you want to perform, and you start doing stuff that you know is going to work in the real world. And something that works in the real world is called commercial. So for example, if a trick requires you to sit down at a table, for a lot of magicians, that's no good, because a lot of close-up magicians do strolling magic. So if you need to sit down at a table and you need to do lapping, for example, that might not be considered commercial. If something's got really bad angles and you can only really look at front on, that might be considered not commercial. If a trick doesn't reset and you can only do it once and then you can't do it again, and it's like really, really, really unresettable, that might not be considered commercial. If a routine is like not examinable and it's like the sort of thing that people would want to examine, that might not be considered examinable. If something's really big, like you've got a box that you have to carry around with you, that might not be considered commercial. It very much depends on different definitions though, because you might be a close-up magician who specializes in restaurant work, and your thing might be to sit down at tables and do more of an intimate show, in which case the sitting down at a table probably isn't an issue. So the word commercial is really subjective, but for me, when something's commercial, it means it instantly resets, it's examinable, it can be done without a table, there's no angle issues, and you know, it's ready to go anytime, anywhere. For me, and it doesn't take up much pocket space. For me, that's what I consider to be commercial. And visible, I don't really know what the terms like visible. I think by visible you mean like a visible change. I don't know what, you know, visible. I don't really know. I haven't really seen visible. You know, oh, that's a really visible trick. I don't know. I think it might mean like, so for example, if I was doing, let me give you an example. So if I was doing, I'm trying to think, out of this world. Okay, so if I was trying to do if I was doing out of this world, that's not a visible trick. That's not visible. There's a lot of dealing and stuff. Now, it's a cerebral trick, really, isn't it? You know, there's a lot of procedure, but at the end, you get this incredible moment that you're building up to. A lot of mentalism is not visible. It's all happening in the mind. Whilst there are tricks that are visible. An ambitious card is a visible trick because the card pops to the top, and then you've probably got a color change in there, and you've probably got the thing where it pops up to the top and maybe jumps into the mouth and a whole bunch of other stuff. That's a visible trick. A lot of the time when you're working in the real world, you do want visible magic, because a lot of the time when you take on a gig, especially like a strolling gig or a corporate gig or a wedding, you've got very little time to have an impact on the audience. You've got to walk over to a group of people who don't know you, and within a few seconds, you've got to grab their attention and get them interested in what you're trying to do, and it can be very, very difficult. And one of the ways to actually do that is to make sure that the stuff that you're doing is really visible, so you grab people's attention immediately. If you walk over to a group of people and you go, right, okay, I'm going to show you something, I've got this deck of cards, we're going to deal through the entire deck and you're going to try and work out if it's red or black, you could have the most amazing, engaging presentation in the world. You could be you know, the second coming of Eugene Berger. But if you're going into a certain environment and people are drinking and people are chatting and it's very noisy, that's just not going to work. So I think by visible, you're talking about like magic that visible has that visual moment to it, as opposed to something that's more cerebral. So I hope that makes sense. That's how I would interpret it anyway. Okay, so the next question is Philip Austin, and Philip says, Craig, thanks for answering the mnemonica question. Ambitious card and Earl of Sandwich aside, what 3 tricks would you perform if I gave you a pack of cards, pack of 52 cards, no gimmicks, keep the magic alive? Well, I think anybody who knows me knows that I'd probably put card under box in there. I'm a big card under box fan. I absolutely love it. I really do. It's one of the best tricks that there is. I like multi-phase routines. So I like routines where there's lots and lots of different phases that build up to a crescendo. Card under box is a perfect example of that. First the card goes under the box, then it goes back into the box, then the deck goes under the box, then the card goes in the box, then the deck goes in the box. You know, there's a lot of moments. So yeah, I'd definitely say card under box. And on that thought process as well, I'd probably say card in pocket for the same reason, because the card, it's a great, it's a great routine. The card keeps going back into the pocket over and over again. There's a big finale where the deck goes into the pocket. I also like card in mouth. I do a multi-phase card in mouth routine where the card keeps going into the mouth, the deck goes into the mouth, the card goes into the mouth, it's folded up inside the mouth. All of this stuff is great. If you're moving away from routines that have multi-phases to them, or those type of routines, I very much like oil and water. I published a routine called Oil and Water Extreme on the Netrix, which is one of my favorite versions of oil and water. I do end up performing oil and water a lot. I also like cards across. There's lots of different versions, but the classic one, count 10 cards, count 10 cards, you pick a card. What card have you got? 3. I'm going to make 3 cards jump across. Boom. Cards across is great. It's one of those routines that really packs small but plays big, which a lot of the time is what you want. So cards across is something that I would do. And if I've got more time to sit down with people, and I've got more time to kind of do cerebral type magic where I've got time, I do like shuffleboard. Shuffleboard is really cool. I'm a big shuffleboard fan, and I've got lots of different versions of it, but shuffleboard is amazing. Outside of shuffleboard, I very much like Out of This World. Recently, I've been doing the Pete Turner version of Out of This World, which is really, really good. That's a nice routine to do when you're sitting down at a table and you've got more time. But yeah, there's probably more than 3 there. There's probably put about 10 in. But all of those routines are designed to be done from a shuffle deck of cards, and all of them are really good. So hopefully that helps and answers your question. Okay, so the next question is from the Artists Studio, and they say, thanks for the insight, Craig. You're more than welcome. Do you think it's a viable option to get a parlour show, not perform one, but actually book the gig? I haven't watched your video on parlour shows yet, and I'm not sure how you cover booking a parlour gig. Any thoughts? Well, yeah, absolutely. But how I tend to book parlour shows, because a lot of people won't ask for a parlour show. But what they will do, at least over here in the UK, is they'll say, hey, I've got a family event. I've got 12 people coming around my house. I'm looking for some close-up magic. And they want a kind of an intimate experience. They don't know what they want. And that's the point when you get an inquiry like that you sell them on a parlour show. And you say to them, hey, it's great that you're asking about close-up magic, and obviously close-up magic would work in that environment. I could come along for an hour and do magic close-up and mingle between your guests, but because there's only 12 of you, you might want to consider a parlour show. Now, a parlour show is kind of like a VIP experience. It gets its name from when magicians used to perform in the King's and the Queen's parlour, and it's when you want to really give people the wow factor. So the idea is that everybody would sit down and they would watch this show that would run 45 minutes to an hour, and it would combine sleight of hand and mind reading and magic and smaller props, but because it's being performed to the group, it will play bigger, and it's a great experience. Lots of interaction, lots of people coming up to the front. Everyone has an amazing time, and because you've only got like 10 to 12 people at your event, I would suggest that that's the best option for you. So really, a lot of the time when it comes to sales, the key thing is to educate the audience on what it is. Educate the person that's ringing up, and educate the prospect on what's the best thing for them. A lot of the time with sales, it's about understanding the prospect's pain points, because everybody has a reason for inquiring about anything. And a lot of the time, if somebody's got like a private party, they know they want some entertainment, they want it to be more intimate. So you use buzzwords like, hey, wow factor, and hey, really give people a VIP experience. And that's how you convert a lot of close-up jobs to a parlour show. So you could advertise parlour shows, but I don't think it would do any good, because I don't think a lot of people are going to inquire about a parlour show, because they probably don't know what it is. But if you have close-up magic and you say there's lots of different options, and you can have strolling magic, you can have table magic, and you can have like a close-up show, which really gives people the VIP experience, that'll put that thought in people's minds. And then when they ring up or they email, that's when you can convert them. So yeah, they're absolutely bookable. I get a lot of them, but that's the best way to That's the best way to approach booking a parlour show. A lot of the time, people won't realise they want a parlour show until you tell them that that's the best thing for their event. Okay, so the next question is from Thomas Shelvin, and Thomas says, "Hey Craig, my little nephew has just turned 1 year old, and I'm writing to ask if you could show me a very, very simple vanish and reappearance to amaze the little chief." Love the channel. Yeah, of course, man. Simple vanish. Have I got a coin? Yes, I have. Life is good. Right. Got a Chinese coin, but that'll do the job. So, put that over there for a minute. If you've never vanished a coin before, right? I mean, and kids have won, right? The kids won. So what you'd want to do is just vanish it and pull it from behind their ear and do that over and over again. I started, performing magic to Rhinand when he was about 6 months old, really getting him used to it. And he would get to the point where as soon as I vanished it, he'd cover his ear like that. But yeah, so to vanish a coin, what I would recommend is just this. And just have it go. That's a really simple vanish, okay? And it's called a finger palm vanish, and I'll quickly go through it with you. So the idea is that you put the coin in the open finger palm like that, right? Now, all you're going to do is you're just going to turn your hand over. Now, the secret move here, what you want to do is put the coin in the other hand a few times. Just turn that hand over and put the coin in the other hand a few times. Just drop it into the other hand a few times. What you're doing here is you're understanding, you're getting used to what it will look like actually putting a coin in a hand. So when you do the move, it should replicate that movement exactly, right? So you're kind of almost getting muscle memory kicking in here. Do that about 20 or 30 times. Just take the coin, put it in the other hand, right? So do that over and over again. When you've done that a few times, you're ready to learn the move. So the move is you put the coin at the base of the fingertips. This is called finger palm. The reason it's called finger palm is if you curl your fingers in, that coin is going to stay in position, right? Now you're going to put your thumb on top of the coin. We'll talk about that in a minute, but the thumb goes on top of the coin, and when you turn your hand over, that coin is going to stay in your palm, right? Because the thumb is keeping it in position. So all you're going to do is you're going to turn this hand over, you're going to show the coin, and you're going to put your thumb on the coin, turn your hand over as if you're putting it into this hand. Now we know it's not coming out because of the thumb, right? And then you're going to move this hand away, and at the same time close this hand as if the coin is in this hand over here. But timing on this is very important, because if I do this, it's not very good, right? If I do this, it's not very good. You want to get the timing just right. So what I do is when my pinkies touch, that's when I take this hand away. And don't pull the hand away. I see a lot of people going, as if they're trying to pull something out. It should look like you're just putting the coin in the hand, right? Now, the thumb thing, if you do this, it kind of becomes very obvious because they can see that you're holding that coin in position. So in magic, a larger action hides a smaller action. So we're going to use the larger action of turning the hand over to hide the smaller action of the thumb moving onto the coin. So as the hand turns over, notice my thumb's there, but you don't see it because I'm not moving my thumb until this hand turns over. And when this hand comes away, my thumb is being moved back out and I've curled my fingers in, finger palming the coin. Okay, kind of like that. So that's the technique. That's how you make it vanish. Now, 2 points. Number one, the most important thing is misdirection, or really direction of attention. And I want you to understand something called the frame of action. So I want you to imagine that I've got an invisible television screen around my head and around this kind of area, and everything that is inside that invisible television screen, the audience are watching carefully. So in this case, they're watching this hand, they're watching everything here, right? When I do the vanish, I want to look over here at where the coin is meant to be, not here. Because if wherever I look, that's where the audience is going to look. That's basic misdirection. Let me give you an example. If I do this and I focus all attention here, it pulls people's eyes over here. If I do this, it's bringing people's eyes over here. So you want to look at where the coin is meant to be, not at where the coin actually is. Okay, that's very, very important. And then the other thing is, don't have that magician's guilt thing. And what I mean by that is when you do the vanish, a lot of people do that and bring the hand out the way. And the reason they do that is because they're scared. They're scared of people looking in the other hand. So this hand doesn't need to drop straight away. Not until the frame of action has moved over to here. So you show the coin, you look over here, and as you look over here, that's when this hand drops, because the frame of action has shifted over here. Then you vanish the coin. Now, once the coin has disappeared, you need to reproduce it, or show a duplicate coin. And the reason is, people are naturally curious, even babies are naturally curious. And what will happen is they're looking for where the coin is. And they'll think maybe it's up the sleeve, maybe he's dropped it on the floor, maybe it's here, maybe it's there. And eventually they'll go, let me look at the other hand, not because your technique's bad, but because it's the most logical place to look. So before they go to that conclusion and they think that's where it is, reproduce it. So look, if I take this coin and blow, it looks like it vanishes, but oh, look, it's over there behind your ear. And now you've reproduced it. Now people aren't concerned. It's why flurries are so popular. If I put the coin over there, it jumps over here. If I put the coin over here, it jumps down here. Take the coin, touch it to this elbow, comes out this elbow. Take the coin, put it on the table. Looks like it's there. It's invisible. If I blow, it comes back. Look, if I take that coin and do this, and watch if I do that. Look, it's back on the table. All this sort of stuff is just based on the same vanish over and over again. Whoops. But it's being reproduced before they can look in the other hand. So you want a trick to impress the kid? That's the one. Just vanish the coin and pull it out from behind your ear. They'll think you're a miracle worker. Okay, so the next question is from Andrew Wigan. And Andrew says, I hate holding breaks. If I'm going to have to hold one for a long time, I'd rather just do the pass and then later do another to bring it back to position. I know this can seem ridiculous, and I was wondering if there's anything like this that you do. Not really. I have no problem. I don't think I've got a deck of cards on me. No, I haven't. I've got no problem doing the pass. I've got no problem doing the pass if I need to, but I don't think you should be doing moves for the sake of it. So bringing, and that's just my opinion, but bringing the card to the top and then bringing it back down to the middle, I just think it's kind of redundant, right? Just understand that if you're not being chased, don't run. You know, nobody, if you're just holding a deck here, you know, it's as long as you're not focusing on the deck, nobody's going to look at the break. So, you know, get the break and just chat and drop your hand to your side, or just hold the cards between both hands and you know, present whatever it is that you want to present and just keep the card in that position. Now, if you're working at a table, you can put the deck on the table and create a small step if you want to. So you could put the deck on the table and, you know, create a small step, or you could side jog the card to the side and then spread the deck out like that so that their card is side jogged, and then you pick the spread up, you get the break back under if you want to. But I wouldn't bring it to the top, just put it back down to the middle, in my opinion. I'd just get comfortable holding the break. You know, it's a very strange thing, magician's guilt, and I see it happen an awful lot. Magicians getting guilty over particular moves. I see magicians that telegraph palmed cards really badly because they're worried that people are going to catch them with the cards in their palm. Coin magicians, that people that are new into coin magic tend to do the same thing again. I've seen some truly terrible sponge ball magic just because after the vanish, the magician is telegraphing the fact that you know, the ball's in the other hand. And this is a version of magician's guilt. You feel guilty that you're holding a break in the middle of the deck. If you didn't feel guilty, you wouldn't care, right? If you didn't feel guilty, you wouldn't care. So I'd try and condition your head to not feel guilty. If I were you, I would hold a break when you don't need to hold a break. I would walk over to a table, show the deck of cards, and then get a break in the middle of the deck. No reason to have a break, but you've just got a break in the middle of the deck. And then when you're talking at the beginning, before you do any magic, keep that break. And you'll soon flick a switch in your head that will make you realize that breaks aren't that bad at all. I know you say you hate holding breaks, but holding a break is a very useful thing to be able to do when constructing longer routines and constructing acts. So what I do is, you know, I'd get used to it. Go and hold breaks every chance that you can get when you don't need to hold a break, and soon you'll realize it's absolutely not a big deal at all. So the next question is from Michael Warsham, and Michael says, hello Craig, you said in this video that you and Ryland hand out a cube every time you perform cube in bottle. I assume you mean that you hand out a cube in bottle, not just a cube. Correct. Yes, sorry Michael, I should have been more specific. Where do you get a large quantity of cube in bottles in order to hand out that many so that it's economical? I don't expect you or Ryland to follow one of those DIY videos to make your own cubes in bottle. Thanks. No, in all honesty with you, Michael, I just ordered them in bulk from Henry Harris. We just order like 100 at a time, and we just keep them in our sort of our man cave. We've got a shelf in our magic shelf specifically for cube in bottle. We just keep them down there, and then when we need one, we go and grab one. And when it's running low, we order more from Henry. And yeah, I mean, it's not the cheapest thing in the world. Henry sells them in bulk relatively inexpensively. But when you're quoting for the gig, just factor the cost of that cube and bottle into the gig. I can't tell you the amount of people that have booked me because they've seen the cube and bottle, not even live at the gig, but maybe they've seen it on someone's shelf or something like that. It's an incredible giveaway, it really is. So for me, factoring in that cost into the price quoted for a gig is absolutely worthwhile. Okay, so the next question is MS Crib, and MS Crib says, "Hi Craig, do you know where to get metallic ink from? One that I can use to create shapes or words or thoughts from a spectator." I don't really know what you mean by metallic ink. I remember a long time ago when I was working with World Magic Shop, Jim Traynor, who had his own magnet company. He's the guy that created the PK ring, the magnetic ring. He was constantly messing around with magnets. And he showed me this ink which reacted to magnets, and it was so weird. It was the weirdest stuff I'd ever seen. And he was working on routines with that. Now, unfortunately, Jim Trainor's passed away now, and I have no idea what that stuff was called. He was just constantly tinkering with it, and it was very messy. But he was using a magnet to, manipulate the ink and move it around a piece of card. It was really cool looking, but he couldn't figure out a way to make it look good or make it look great without hiding the magnet. But, he might have come up with something, or somebody else might have, but I don't know what it was called. That's the only magnetic ink that I've ever seen. Now, Jim Trainor's business partner was David Penn, and they worked together on a lot of products. So David Penn might know. If you contact David Penn and ask him if he knows anything about magnetic ink, tell him that Craig said he might do because he knows that Jim Traynor was using it a long time ago, then maybe he might know. But outside of Dave, I'm sorry, I'm not too sure. I'd contact a big magnet manufacturer and ask them about magnetic ink because maybe they know. Beyond that, I'm not too sure. Sorry. Okay, so the next question is from Vegan Badass, and Vegan Badass says, "I'm now just finding out that you worked at Island Lake. I live 2 hours away from it. A small world indeed." Yes, indeed, a small world, and I absolutely love that part of the world. You, my friend, are absolutely blessed to be living in or near the Poconos. If I've always said to my wife, if I could retire somewhere one day, I would definitely retire to the Poconos. I used to love working at that summer camp. It was amazing. In actual fact, I'm considering sending Ryland maybe this year or next year. He's not old enough at the moment, but I am considering sending Ryland for a couple of weeks. I think he'd have an absolute blast, and then Thea when she's old enough. But yeah, Island Lake is amazing. Okay, so the next question is from Card Trick Academy, and Card Trick Academy says, "Hi Craig, love your videos, by the way. Thank you very much. I loved your video about how to run an awesome Parlour show. Thank you. Could you do another one about Parlour shows?" Yeah, I could do a follow-up. "What do you use in terms of a camera to record your performances?" Dude, I just set my phone up. I get used to... I film a lot of my performances, especially stage performances and Parlour shows and cabaret shows and things like that. And I just take a tripod and I set my phone up on it. I use my phone. I've got an iPhone 14. It's got a really good camera. And I make sure that I buy the one with the most storage space. And all I do is I just film it. I just set it up on a tripod and I just film the whole thing. And then I go check it out afterwards and see if it's any good. So yeah, get into the habit of filming all of your shows. That's what I would suggest. And, there's no harm in using a phone. A lot of my company show reels, part of them have been filmed on phones, and you just can't tell. They look great. So yeah, that's what I'd suggest. Set up a phone and on a tripod, film the whole thing, and yeah, I can look into doing another Parlour video, no problem. Okay, so the next question is from Grok Magician, and Grok Magician says, "Hi again, Craig. Hey, Grok. Several months ago, Tyler Lunsford told you and sent you a trick idea I put together using the EDCeight principle. Have you looked into it? If you have, is it an idea that I can pursue?" I've got to be honest, I don't remember that. I have been very, very busy. Send it me again. I'll have a look in my emails, but send it me again to craig@magictv.org, and I'll look into it again. I'm really sorry. I do get distracted sometimes, and sometimes I miss things, but yeah, send it me again. I'll look into it. Okay, so the next question is from Alessandro Pericoli. And Alessandro says, "Hi, Craig. How are you?" Very good, mate. "Have you ever heard of Tony Polli. He's one of the best Italian close-up magicians, and he's coming out with a really good product for performing coin magic. It would be interesting to see something about him on your channel." I've never heard of the guy, Alessandro. I've never heard of him. I'm Googling him now. Let's have a look. Oh, I see he's got some stuff on Penguin. The Perfect Vanish. It's on everywhere. It's on Penguin. It's on Vanishing Ink. The Perfect Vanish from Tony Polli. 10 5-star reviews. Nice. Reviews from 2014. So this is quite an old product. 10 years old now. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, I'll look into him. I'll reach out to him. I don't know how to get hold of him. Hopefully he's on Facebook. But I'm always up for interviewing new people. So yeah, I'll make it happen. Okay, so the final question today is from Nudgeworth, and Nudgeworth says, "Hello, thanks for the awesome introduction to coin boxes." I think he's talking about the coin box video. "Can you ask a couple of questions for me? As I live in New Zealand, it's not easy to get my hands on any of the coins that coin boxes are made for. Does it matter if small diameter coins are placed inside an Okito box?" I mean, it'll work, but it'll be a little bit more difficult to do some slights. It depends on what you're wanting to do with it. A lot of the routines with Okito boxes revolve around the fact that the coins completely fill the inside of the Okito box. And if they don't fill the inside of the Okito box, you could actually be in a situation where certain moves, like a spill out steal from David Roth and things like that, might not work. I'd say you really want one that will fill it. If I was to buy a Tango Okito box made for $50 because I fit in an old English penny, the New Zealand version without any problems. If you're talking about the classic old English penny that we use in Magic, they are a little bit bigger than $50 and typically don't fit inside an Okito box. What I would suggest, I mean, the coins are easy to get hold of, man. You can get them from all good Magic dealers. I don't know which Magic shop you use. Let's look at Penguin at $50. There you go. So Penguin sell a roll of 20 $50 for $21.15. Regular American $50 sold by the roll of 20 coins. So there you go. That's what I'd do if I were you. I'd go and buy some $50. They're like $20 on Penguin. You get 20 of them, and that's everything that you'd need. I would suggest that is your best option. So there you go, guys. That's another Q&A in the bag. Thank you once again for joining me here on Magic TV. So sorry I filmed this so early, but it's the only option I've got going over to Penguin. Now, once again, if you want to see more videos like this, like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below. I'm going to be back again tomorrow with a bunch of videos. I'm going to be away for the week, but I have filmed all the content for you, so you're going to still get everything that you would normally get on Magic TV. And if you want to support my work, and a lot of people ask how they can support my work, go to www.thenetrix.com. That's www.thenetrix.com. Big, massive changes happening over the next 2 or 3 weeks, and we're just completely restructuring the whole thing. But as it stands right now, there's nearly 400 routines, hundreds of sleights, and the whole thing is a behemoth. So if you want to go check it out and see all the what all the fuss is about, please do so. You can try it out for a month at bronze level, and continue as long as you want to, like most people do. Anyway, I will be back again soon. Thank you once again for watching. My name's Craig from Magic TV.